Everybody likes to talk about, oh, so you must get into tech. Everybody needs to get into tech. Blah, 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 blah. But like when people eventually get the job, nobody tells them this is what you do to keep your job. Starting your first job as a developer is like going to a new school. You have an idea of what to expect, but you don't exactly know what is going to happen. Now, today I'm going to be talking about struggles of entry-level developers. I was once an entry-level developer, and so I can relate to a lot of things that people go through on their first job as developers. Now, obviously, you've done the tech interview, you've gotten your portfolio right, you've done a couple of projects, so you have an idea of how building apps work, right? But when it comes to actually working in a team, there are different things that you might not be familiar with, right? There are different struggles that you will have to deal with, both related to the team you're working with, the code base, and other things. And so this is what this video is going to be about. So hey guys, my name is Susan, and I talk about navigating your tech career. I know that for some people it is sometimes new, and there are so many things that we don't learn because tech is a fairly new space, not entirely new, but you guys know what I mean. Like, there's so many experiences that you haven't really heard from people, and sometimes it's just good to know that someone else has those experiences and can share with you. So basically that's why I'm here, to make you feel less alone in your tech career journey, to help you navigate the issues that you probably have currently at your job, whether it's your first, second, third job, whatever it is, and just talk about things that you might be having issues with. I'm going to specifically be talking about entry-level developers, and I know that entry-level developers have their fair share of problems and stress. Personally, I will be honest, I did not have a very difficult time as an entry-level developer, and this is because I got hired with senior developers who I felt comfortable with. They were my friends, and so I could talk to them about issues I was having. I wasn't so overwhelmed like most people are, especially if you're being hired alone and you have to navigate working in a new space alone, getting familiar with a new code base alone. Those things can be pretty intimidating, and that's what we're here to talk about. One of the main issues that most people have when they start their new job is navigating the code base. Now, depending on the kind of team that you're on, the code base may be well documented, so you might not have any issues, getting familiar. But in some other teams, the code base might have gotten really complex, really large. There's not enough documentation and things like that, so it might be an issue. There are three things I would typically advise when you're in this kind of situation. The first is to go through the PRs, the commits, review the comments, look at what people have been writing on previous pull requests that have been submitted, and that will give you some context as to what the code has been doing, at least recently. The second thing I would advise is that you check the test. Usually, if tests have been written, it would show you, and the tests are not still. I'm assuming that the tests are not still they were, at least they've been updated regularly. It would show you some context around the functionality of the code base. The third thing I would typically advise is that you check the documentation, like the README file of the code base, because that will typically show you how to run the code, how to run the test, if you need to get env files, environment variables, if you need to get API keys from someone on the team. Hopefully, if there's anything added to the code base, the README file is updated, because I know this is a very common issue, especially for non-big or startups, because things are going fast. Sometimes there's not enough time to actually document the small changes that are made in the code base, but the README file will be a good place also to start to get familiar with. Now, the second thing that a lot of people are scared to do is ask questions, and I think that this happens a lot, especially at your first job. You're trying to be careful not to ask the stupid questions. Basically, you're just playing it cool, trying to understand everybody around you before you start to talk. And sometimes people get to the extreme where they just sit down, they're docile, they're passive, they don't say anything, they don't ask any questions, they are not clear about something, but they they just keep quiet, okay? And you don't want to do this, especially at your first job. Obviously, you don't necessarily like have to be talking like every 10 seconds or every 20 seconds, but like if there are things that maybe after someone has done a presentation or someone has shown you a particular part of a project that maybe your team is going to be working on, at the end you can ask questions about maybe some things that you just need to clarify or be sure that you understood what the person was saying, maybe just paraphrasing and kind of summarizing what the person has said to be sure that you understand, things like that will help you to have context. Now, the next thing that a lot of people have issues with is adapting to new technologies and tools. I can say for a fact that every single company that I've worked with, I've had to learn a new language. Recently, I've been working on mobile projects, but while I was working on front-end projects, for the most part, I always had to learn a new language. So the first job I worked at, I had to learn Angular 2. We're using Angular for the longest time, and then Angular 2 came on board, and it was like component based. It was very different from Angular version 1, and so that was an opportunity to learn something new. I must confess, I was a little scared, about entering new waters, but within the next couple of days, probably the first week to the second week, I started getting comfortable with it. So if you're in that kind of situation where you have to learn a new language, make use of things like Stack Overflow. ChatGPT is your friend right now, so you can ask, on ChatGPT. Mind you, ChatGPT is not always accurate, so you need to also have some context before using ChatGPT. Not like you just copy and paste code and put it there, or you just ask it to create code for you. You also need to have some context by probably reading the documentation to understand how a particular language works. Make use of resources. Most of the languages would have stuff on GitHub that you can they will have issues on GitHub. High chance that someone has submitted an issue on GitHub related to that tool you're using or on Stack Overflow. So there are so many resources out there that you can use, especially if you're getting started with a new language, a new tool. Don't get scared of doing that, for sure. The next one is imposter syndrome, and I talk about this a lot because I know that most engineers deal with this. And let me just tell you right now, there's a very high chance that if you're experiencing imposter syndrome, whether you're on a new team, on an existing team, entry level, non-entry level developer, there is a very high chance that 2 other people or 3 other people or 4 other people or your entire team is also experiencing imposter syndrome. Because of the kind of field that we are in, you never really know it all. There's always something new. No one can come out and boast that they know every single thing. Okay, so we all learn something every day. Personally, I don't see imposter syndrome as an entirely bad thing. It's bad if it kind of restrains you from coming out of your comfort zone and challenging yourself, but it's not entirely bad because it also helps you to know that you don't know everything and that there's always room for improvement. There's always room to learn something new. And so, yeah, like if you have imposter syndrome, first of all, I think for me, what has helped so far is keeping in mind that there are probably other people in the room that think I'm smarter than them as well. Okay, so just as you are thinking that other people are smarter than you, there are probably other people in the room thinking you are smarter than them. So put that in perspective. Just look at the positive side of it as an opportunity to learn. Keep an open mind, to be flexible about how you write code as well, to know that there are probably better ways of doing it, and also not necessarily lack confidence in the way you currently do it. Yeah, I think there are so many facets to this, for sure. There are so many areas to this, and yeah, like just that's what I have to say about imposter syndrome. It's a good thing and a bad thing. It just depends on how you navigate it. I think the final one is information overload, and lots of people deal with this on a new team. Overload about your project, the code base, the team, the difference. You would hear for sure different terminologies in your new company, and please don't get scared that you don't know everything at once. There is no way you're going to know it all or understand it all or soak it all in the first couple of weeks. So it's fine for you to gradually, take in this information, ask questions when you can. If you forget something, ask and document so that you don't need to repeat that question again. And yeah, like, don't be under pressure to have to deliver something, especially if you need some time to understand what the task you're going to work on requires from you. Take your time to understand that. If you're having issues probably setting up the code base on your local machine, don't keep quiet. And I really mean that, because I know I have worked with a couple of engineers in the past, and they're probably having issues setting up their code base or something, and they're quiet. They're trying to figure it all out on their own. Some of them are not necessarily junior, maybe mid-level, and maybe because they don't want to ask questions, they don't want to look somehow, they don't talk. You absolutely shouldn't be doing that, for sure. Like, especially if you're on a new team, there's so many things that are forgivable on a new team, and there are so many cases where you're trying to set up code base, but someone has not documented a very important step, that you need to set up the code base, and so because of that you're having issues. So the earlier you speak up about stuff like that, the better. You save yourself a lot of time, a lot of stress, a lot of headache, and you get by faster, you get familiar with the code faster, you get to other things that you need to do faster as well. So these are certainly things that you want to keep in mind if you're an entry-level developer, if you're joining a new team, whether you're entry level or not. And I hope this video has been useful and helpful to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment down below. If you're new to this channel, thank you for watching this video. Please make sure that you subscribe, click on the notification bell to get notified whenever I drop a video. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye.